The exercise I hand out to my students is how we view our own identities and that we acknowledge our susceptibility to stereotyping members of our own group. Next, we can identify the stereotypes to which we are sometimes subjected and examine them in light of a problem-posing dialogue developed by researcher-educator Mary Bricker Jenkins. Dr. Bricker Jenkins suggests we ask ourselves, 1, who am I? 2, who says? 3, who benefits from these labels? And 4, if these labels don't benefit me, what must we change and how? The participants with high levels of shame resilience really emphasize the importance of change. This is underlined. And if we don't recognize or admit our parts in these processes, then we can't change them. One woman who spoke about aging said, I'd rather spend my time, energy, and money working to redefine what it means to be old. Spending your resources trying to stay young is a tiresome and impossible battle. At least when you're fighting against ageism, you make a difference for more than just yourself. I'll close this chapter by sharing some of Annie's writings. Annie is one of the research participants. She was great in her apartment during junior year in college. As you can see by her answers to the shame resilience exercises, she has found tremendous resilience by reaching out to other young women about date rape on college campus. Annie's exercises. Triggers. I want to be perceived as normal, healthy, the same person I was before the assault, and not to blame. Critical awareness. No one can turn back the time and make it go away, but the people around me can make it better by not whispering behind my back or assuming that I can't ever be happy again. I know it's a lot to ask, but I need them to validate the difficulties, but at the same time not define me by them. Connection network. My counselor, my support group, talking to college girls about SA, my mom and dad, my sisters and brother, my boyfriend, and my best friend. Unwanted identities and triggers. I do not want to be perceived as damaged. Never be the same, screwed up mentally, always on the verge of going crazy. Critical awareness. I'm not denying that I'm different in some ways. I am, and that's normal. I had a lot taken away, and I'm working on that. I just don't want my friends to take even more away by changing their relationships with me or treating me different. If you make everything I do or say about the assault, then you are taking more away from me. Ooh, it reminds me of when I try to set up just a simple boundary that I think even someone without any SA trauma, it's a pretty basic boundary that like any therapist